Hey, what's going on? Jimbo here from Xiaobam. Well, thank you so much for getting the instant 3D lettering for Procreate. I am super proud to present you this product that we've been collaborating with Abbie from Abbie Brushes, and in this tutorial I'm gonna help you get started with the product and also show you 3 cool lettering styles. So let's get into it. The first thing you're gonna do is to create a new canvas. Since I'm in Europe, I'm gonna use centimeters, and I'm gonna put 22 times 30 centimeters at a 300 dpi. Okay, so here we are. Now I'm gonna explore a little bit the brushes that we are giving you in this set. As you can see, first you're gonna see a lot of 3D stamps. Then you're gonna see some backgrounds, and then finally you're gonna see the 3D brushes. So each brush has 6 different variations inside 2 main groups: the steady shadows and the pressure shadows, but we're gonna see this later on. Now I'm just gonna select one of the 3D stamps, and now I'm going to show you the primary and secondary colors, why they're here and how do they work. So you can see that when you select the colors, there is 2 little rectangles on the top right corner. These brushes are dual color, meaning you need a primary and a secondary color in order to get the result you're looking for. The primary color will be for the lights, and it's the right rectangle, meaning you should pick a bright color. And then the secondary color will be for the shadows, meaning you should pick a dark color. You can see that now when we stamp the shadow, here on the left there's gonna be the lights, and then on the right there's gonna be the shadows. Now if you wanna break the rules, you can as well invert the colors, and you're gonna get some unexpected results. You can see that where before the lights were, now we get the shadows, and the other way around. Now whenever you have time, explore these 3D shapes, because we are gonna be using them later on. Now I want to show you what happens if we select the same color for the primary and secondary color. As you can see, we just get a stamp with no shadows and with no lights, so that's a no-no. Now in this first example, we've seen that it's better and easier to play maybe with the same shade of colors, so 2 blues, but you can see here as well that you could pick, for example, a pink color for the lights and a blue color for the shadows. So again, just experiment and see what happens. For sure you're gonna get some incredible results the more you use them. Let's erase this, and now let's find the same colors as I used before. There you go. And now we are going to see the 3D lettering brushes. So just scroll down and just pick one at random, I would say. I'm going to select the pressure cube, but select inside the category, select the first brush and do a letter. You're gonna see that this letter is kind of floating in the space, but now select one of the brushes that says shadow and a little arrow, and draw the same letter. You're gonna see that you are creating automatically a drop shadow. Now you can see the main difference in between this brush and the other brush, because in this example the letter is touching the background, so it would be like laying on the floor. And then I'm gonna show you another example in between 2 brushes, the first one and the second one. Now you can see that in the first brush, no matter what I do, there is no different shadow or light. But if I select the second one, depending on the pressure that I'm adding, I'm putting shadows or lights. So the less pressure, the darker the brush becomes, and the more pressure, the lighter the stroke is. The cool thing here is that when you add less pressure, the stroke is kinda in the background, and when you add more pressure, the stroke is on the foreground. So you can get super realistic effects with it. Okay, so now I erase this, and I'm gonna do a short word. So you have to have in mind that probably in the beginning, adding this foreground and background strokes is gonna be a little bit complicated, but if you have done a little bit of calligraphy before this, it's going to be really easy for you, because you just have to follow the basic rules of calligraphy. Now I'm doing the same, but with one of the brushes containing the drop shadow. Alright, so now let me step back and let's go to the next little tip. So now that we've seen these brushes, what we're going to do is to change these colors. I'm gonna select a light pink and then a dark pink, and we're gonna do the word star. Now every stroke should be in a different layer. Alright, so just create every single stroke on a new layer, and then now we are gonna see how to put certain elements behind and some elements in front. Since I separated the R in two parts, I'm going to select the first one, I'm gonna tap on it, and I'm gonna tap on mask. Now I'm gonna tap on the first part of the R and I'm gonna select. Now go back to that mask you created before, and with a black color and a normal calligraphy brush or whatever native brush from Procreate, go ahead and paint on top of it. You can see that this part is getting erased, but this is good because it's not a destructive way to do it, because if you select a white color, you can make it appear again. When you select the black color, it disappears. So now repeat this as many times as you want. For me, I'm just gonna keep it simple with this one, and I'm gonna add a shadow here. So for this, I'm going to go to the part of the letter that I wanna add a shadow in. In this case, it's this little stroke. I'm gonna create a new layer and I'm gonna tap on clipping mask. Now select a dark color, and then I'm gonna go to the brush panel and select an airbrushing brush. So one of those that come with Procreate in the menu of airbrushing. Now with the selection tool and the freehand, I'm just gonna select this little part and I'm gonna add a little bit of shadow. Now keep adding clipping masks on top of those parts that you want darker. So for example, I'm adding a clipping mask here in the A, and I'm gonna do this part a little darker. Then on this R, I'm gonna select clipping mask on a new layer again and add some shadow in here, and then probably as well into this part of the R. So new layer, clipping mask, and a shadow here. Okay, so I'm done. Now before going to the next letters, I'm gonna intertwine this lettering with one of the 3D stems. So go back to find one of those, select the torus, so this little floaty, and then change the color so we see a little bit of contrast in this piece. I'm gonna select this light blue for the lights and the dark blue for the shadows, and then on a new layer, I'm just gonna stamp it in here. Now move it around a little bit, then go back, tap on it, mask. Now go to the S, tap, select. Now go back to that layer mask, select a black color, again with one of these calligraphy brushes or any Procreate brushes, and just erase this little part in here. Now you can see that it looks like the floaty is in the middle of the letter, and it gives us a really cool 3D effect. Now select the S, select a new layer, add a clipping mask, and with a dark color and one of those brushes that we used before, so the airbrushing, add some shadow again here and there. And that's it. We have a 3D word with one of the 3D shapes floating in the space, and now we are gonna see the second tutorial and two neon lettering styles that are super easy and super cool to do. So let's do this. Now we're going to see how to do a couple neon letters. We're gonna use 3 brushes. The first one is going to be the cube. We're gonna select just again one of those color combinations, almost the same as the one before. Now I'm doing a letter B, but you can do whichever letter you want. And now I'm going to go to the instant 3D touch-ups, select the neon, and then a white color. Now follow this. So just put the neon across the whole piece in little chunks so it's easier for you to do it in one stroke. Now you see that I'm starting a little bit like the neon is going from the letter following the direction of the 3D. Now go back to the touch-up brushes, select the neon hole, pick 2 colors for the shadows and the lights again, and we are gonna stamp it on the beginning and in the end of each neon tube that we've done. Now I'm going to adjustments, curves, and color balance just to check which color looks better. You can definitely do this later, but I just want to make sure that I have something that I like. So now I'm gonna duplicate this layer, this neon hole, and I'm gonna put it everywhere else. Now I'm going to pinch all these layers together, and I'm gonna go again to adjustments and saturation and adjust a little bit of the hue and saturation and brightness until I'm satisfied. So now create a new layer on top of this, set it to add, bring the opacity down, select the LED diffuser and a pink light color, and just follow the shape of all the neon tubes. One little thing I wanted to say is that this is not exact science, so you'll see me going back and forth to the opacity or to the mode, so just don't get scared. It's me trying to, you know, kind of be okay with my perfectionism. Now, go up to adjustments, tap on bloom, and play a bit with the options. Now you're gonna see that the neon, you know, this LED diffuser is doing a lot here, creating more light. And now create a new layer behind all the neon, so in between the letter and the first neon. Select a dark color, and now we are going to add a little bit of this shadow that the neon is doing on the letter. So just gonna paint it a little bit here and there. You're gonna see that I'm kind of following the 3D part. So yeah, this is gonna just add a little bit more realism. You don't have to do this because it already looks cool with the neon. And then I'm gonna go and select the multiply mode and move on to the next letter. Now let's see how can we add a neon in a different way using the pipe brush. So select the first of the 6 and let's use the same colors. Now I'm gonna go on top of everything, create a new layer, and I'm gonna do a letter. So I think this B is gonna work. So yeah, that's gonna work. So now let's go bring the opacity down, and then with the same brush, same size, same everything, I'm just gonna repeat the same strokes, but I'm gonna stop in the middle. So there you go. And then after a while I'm gonna do this shape. So now you see that we have a little gap in between one stroke and the next. Now you might be asking yourselves why, and now you're gonna see it. So now I'm gonna change the color of the background so we see these letters in a dark environment. And then now I'm going back to the touch-up brushes and I'm gonna select the neon hole again. Now using the exact same colors, I'm just gonna stamp this on a new layer and I'm gonna deform it a little bit like this. I'm gonna rotate it a little and I'm gonna adapt it here so it doesn't touch the corners, but almost. Okay, now that we are here, I'm gonna go to adjustments and curves and just adjust this a little bit. So like, let's say the dark, like the shadows become a little bit darker and the lights kind of remain the same. But anyway, now I'm gonna select this broken into pipe. I'm gonna select an eraser, just like a normal Procreate brush, a calligraphy brush will work, and I'm just gonna cut this shape following the same curve as the neon hole. Now you might not be seeing the effect, but as you zoom out, you're gonna see that the pipe already starts making sense. So now select a white color And then on a new layer, I'm gonna select the neon brush. I'm gonna make it thicker, almost as thick as the pipe, and I'm just gonna create this. I'm gonna kind of like close this B. So now what I'm gonna do is go to the neon, tap on it and create a mask, go to the broken B, tap on select, go back to the layer mask, and now with an airbrushing or a calligraphy brush, I'm just gonna paint this until it goes. Now I cannot do this on the other side, so what I'm gonna do is go into the hole, tap on it, select, then invert on the panel down, and then I'm going back to the layer mask, and I'm just gonna paint it in a black color so it disappears, or it hides at least. Maybe a little bit smaller so I don't get... Yeah, alright, so that's done. So now we've done the most important part of this letter, and I'm gonna go to the layers panel, erase the first B that we used as guide in the beginning. I'm gonna create a new layer, select the LED diffuser, and with the light pink and changing the mode to wet as before, I'm just gonna add a little light on this neon. So something like maybe a tiny smaller like this. Okay, that will work. And now that I have this, I'm gonna go up to adjustments, bloom, and I'm just gonna edit my light a little bit here. Now I'm gonna change the color just to try out a new blue. I think that looks cool. And then I'm gonna be using a little bit more, and then I'm gonna change the mode to probably like vivid light. Maybe now add a new layer, and with the rim light I'm just gonna increase this light. You can see that this brush gives a big light, so now I'm just erasing some parts of it so it doesn't touch much the tube. And then I'm gonna move this slightly to one side or another. I'm gonna change the mode as well. Just try out new things here, probably to a hard light. Yeah, that works. Now I'm gonna get this layer and bring it down in between the first neon and the neon hole. Now go to adjustments, Gaussian blur, and add a little blur. Now I'm just gonna play a little bit with opacity. I think that works. And we are done with the second letter. Now that we know the basics and we know how to play with the brushes and colors, we are going to do an ampersand, and we're gonna see how to start from the beginning to the end. But this time we are gonna add as well some final lights to the whole piece, and just, you know, get the best out of the touch-up brushes. So let's do it. Now here I've just added a little time lapse of me sketching the ampersand that I'm gonna be drawing, but you don't have to do that obviously. You can also get an ampersand or like a typography that it's already done, and then bring the opacity down, and on a new layer let's create this 3D letter. Now here I'm using the brush called Round Peak, and the second option, the one with variable shadows. And I did this ampersand in 2 steps. Now I'm selecting the white color as a background so we see better what we do. Now we're gonna go to adjustments, and this time into liquify. Now select push and change the size as you go. So what I'm gonna be using this is just to repair those. It's kind of like cheating a little bit, but it's gonna help us get better circles or better shapes. Sometimes, you know, doing calligraphy can get tricky, and I wanted to show you how to retouch those curves so you get something more pleasing. So you see, like, now I'm getting some more circular shape here, and also this little arm that I really don't like. I'm just gonna push it a little bit, maybe bring it down here, just with the intention of getting a better perfected shape. Don't do it too much, because if you overdo it then everything is gonna get blurry. So this is just, you know, to help you with just a little bit. It's better to do 4 times the shape and then add a bit of push than just push it too much. Now I changed the background again, and I just realized that my screen protector hasn't been changed for the last year, so I should do that. You can see a lot of scratches. But anyway, let's go to the first shape and create mask, and then on the second one as well. Now I'm gonna tap on the first layer and I'm gonna tap select. I'm gonna go to the mask of the other layer and I'm just gonna hide one of these parts. Okay, so now let's add extra lights. So depending on the color that you picked for the lights and the shadows, this is gonna be more possible or less possible. So go to the selection tool, tap on automatic, and now tap on those light parts of this beveled effect. Now bring it to the left and to the right and try not to overstep where the shadows are. So the more contrast you have in between shadows and lights, depending on the colors that you've chosen as primary and secondary, this is gonna be more possible or less possible to do. But I just want you to select little chunks of it, so you don't have to select the whole thing. So that will work for now. Now go tap on a new layer, select the white color, and then with an airbrush, natively in Procreate, one of those, just add a little bit of lights here. You can also do this manually, and I'm gonna show you how now. But as long as you can do a little bit of a selection and just add a little light here and there, that's gonna already improve the whole piece. Now here, for example, I went a little bit overboard, you see it. So now I'm just gonna select normal calligraphy brush as an eraser, and I'm just gonna erase the part that I don't like. So something like that, maybe a little bit more, but you get the point. Now you're gonna get a little bit a better dimensional effect to the whole thing. Now maybe fix it here and there, and that's it. Now I'm going to do the same to the other part of the ampersand. So I'm gonna select automatically one of these chunks here, and I'm gonna do the exact same. Now I'm gonna show you how to do, as I said, a manual light for those parts that are not contrasted enough and you can select automatically. So just go ahead and create a new layer on top of these masks, and then with the airbrush just start painting in here, something like that. And now select a calligraphy brush as an eraser, a sharp one like this, and just cut it right in the middle, something like that. You can do this on the other parts of the letter as well, especially if you've chosen two colors that are not super contrasted and you cannot, Procreate doesn't allow you to do the selection automatically. So yeah, let me do a couple more here and there, and now we are gonna move on to the next step. Alright, so now let's create some background. So go to the bottom of the whole thing, create a new layer, and then select a bright color, and then select the particle shader inside the touch-up brushes. Now make the size big and start spraying this in one of the directions, something like that. Probably I'll change it into a pink. That's good. Now I'm gonna do a new layer on top of everything, and I'm gonna start adding some flares. So select the lens flare 60 degrees, change the brush size, and with the white color start stamping some flares right in the middle of the bevel effect. Now change the mode into an overlay, or an overlay will work. Now create a new layer and select the lens flare diagonal. Also stamp it somewhere in the middle. Now change the mode into a color dodge, for example, and bring the opacity down. Now duplicate the layer, make this a little bit smaller using the uniform transform tool, and just move it around a little bit. Now maybe this one you can also change the mode, bring down the opacity so it's not as important as the first one, and that's it. Now create a new layer and then add the lens flare multiple lights. Now add something in the middle, and again change the mode into the one that you like the most and just put it here in the middle. Okay, so now just gonna add a new layer, and I'm gonna use the concrete stamp and a darker color. I'm gonna stamp it in the middle and just change the mode and the opacity as well, so it gives this nice concrete realistic texture to it. Okay, so now we're done with the main lights and textures. You can see that the piece gets a lot of, you know, realism, and it's super dynamic with all these lights. So yeah, that's a good way to use all these touch-up brushes, and as you can see, they're really easy to use. Now go to the 3D brush stamps, and let's do as we did in the beginning of this whole video. I'm just gonna add some random shapes here and there. I'm gonna mask them, play with them in the space, and I'm just gonna leave you with a little bit of a time lapse because you already know how to use this. So just add as many as you want, but don't overdo it, okay? So yeah, I'll see you in a second. Okay, so now I'm gonna select the same colors as in the beginning of this ampersand, and I'm gonna select two shapes, like make them super big and put them like they're going outside the artwork. Now on a new layer, select another two shapes in the same color and make them smaller. Now go to Gaussian blur and add a bit of Gaussian blur to these little ones, and then go to the big ones and add a bunch of Gaussian blur. This will give you realism because the big ones are gonna be more in the foreground, and let's say our eyes are not focusing them, and that's why they're blurred out, because we want to focus on the ampersand, and that's why it's super defined. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a couple clipping masks here and there, nothing that you didn't see before, so I'll leave you to it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for being here, for having bought the product, and for all your support. Having collaborated with Abbie has been a dream come true. We are super happy with the result of these brushes, and we hope that you're happy too. So please just tag us in Instagram, tell the world that you've been using these brushes, and let us know if you like them or you want to improve something, or if you want to learn something as well, let us know so we can think about next tutorials for YouTube, for example. Remember that you can find us on Instagram at Jimbo, at Shoutbam, and at Abbie_uproot. See you in the next one.